What's up everyone? My name is Christine and I have Common Variable Immune Deficiency, aka CVID. In today's video, I'm going to talk about things that I wish I knew when I was first diagnosed with CVID. Now, if you are not aware, if you have not seen any of my prior videos on this channel, I was diagnosed with CVID back in 2006. So it's been 13 years now since I have first been diagnosed with CVID, and I have learned a lot along the way. I know the initial diagnosis of getting CVID can be very frightening and there are just so many questions. So today I thought I would talk about some things that I wish I knew back when I was 16 and I was first diagnosed with CVID. The first point is that your life is not over. When I was first diagnosed, I was 16 years old and I was about to start a combination high school college program, and I had no idea if I would be able to meet that challenge of starting college full-time at 16 while dealing with this illness. I was frightened when I got this diagnosis and I didn't know if I'd be able to make that college program, if I'd be able to handle it, if I'd be getting sick too often, if I wouldn't keep up with the attendance. I remember having questions if I'd be able to go away to college. Would I ever be able to work? Was I just doomed for a lifetime of sickness? There was so much going through my mind as a 16-year-old dealing with this. I made it through that college program. I made it through college. I made it through PT school, and I am still working full-time. I live a normal life even though I have CVID. So just getting this diagnosis does not mean your life is over, does not mean you have to stop doing all the things that you enjoy. You might have to make some adaptations to your life, but your life is not over. People are not going to understand what you're going through. When you have a rare illness, it is just reasonably very hard for people to understand it. They have no past experiences to relate it to. So really all people can do is try to closely relate it to maybe something they've gone through or something a family member has gone through. But people just aren't gonna get it, and you can't fault people for that. So my best advice for this would to be finding a support group that you can talk to and find people that do understand what you were going through. And if you are having trouble finding a support group, I would recommend asking your immunologist if they know of any support groups. When I was first diagnosed, my immunologist gave me a lot of resources of places that can help me. I know the Jeffrey Modell Foundation used to have these things called Kids Days, where children with primary immune deficiencies would get together and do some fun activity. I have no clue if those still exist. I don't get invited to them anymore because I'm a little too old for that. Two big foundations for primary immune deficiency are the Immune Deficiency Foundation and the Jeffrey Modell Foundation. I can link both of the websites for the two below, and I know the Immune Deficiency Foundation is trying to get support groups around the country. There may not be one near you, and hey, maybe you can start one near you. Be careful of bad advice. There is a lot of bad advice out there. People are gonna give you advice when you're not asking for it. I don't think all of this advice is bad-hearted in nature. I think people are trying to be helpful. It's not all advice that you should listen to. Take it with a grain of salt. You are going to get advice from friends, family, neighbors, the internet, and it's not necessarily stuff that you should listen to. Just be very careful with what you do listen to. And as my recommendation has always been, if you question something, if you wonder something, what's legit, what's not legit, what I should do, what I should not do, discuss it with your immunologist or your physician that is treating you for your illness. Infusions are going to change your life, and they're not as scary as they seem. I remember when my immunologist first recommended getting IVIG infusions, I was petrified. I don't want a blood product. This is just really scary. I don't want to deal with this. It seems like too much. And I avoided treatment for about a year because the whole idea of getting this medicine just petrified me, and I was in denial. I told myself I was not that sick. I didn't really need it. I have been on infusions for over a decade, and my life is a complete 180 from when I was in middle school, when I was starting high school, from before I was diagnosed to today. I live a normal life. My infusions give me a relatively normal life. You are going to have to know way more about health insurance and the chaos that it all is than anybody else that you know. I know way more about the process and authorizations and denials and battles than most people that I know, and it's just because I have to know it. I've had to adapt to having this illness, and unfortunately in the United States the healthcare system is not ideal and the insurance system is a big mess, and there are loopholes and tricks and things that you just have to learn about the health insurance, and you have to know the different types of insurances and what plans to buy, and you have to learn the meanings of all these sorts of things that a lot of people don't know about. Copays, deductibles, PPO, HMO. It is a headache, but you will learn it, and you are going to know more than most of your friends. And the last thing I am going to talk about, it gets better. Going through that initial diagnosis is so scary, and there's a lot of changes going on at one time. You have to make a lot of decisions in a relatively short period of time. You're suddenly going to the doctors all the time. You're having to make appointments for all this blood work and getting these treatments and possibly making life-changing decisions. It is very overwhelming. I'm not going to downplay that. Like anything, once you get to a routine and you get to something that works for you and you get more experience with it, it gets easier, it gets better. Life gets more normalized. It's been 13 years since I've been first diagnosed, and things are not like they were for me when I was 16, 18, 20. It is so much easier now. I am so much more stabilized. CVID is just not quite as big as a concern in my day-to-day routine as it used to be. That is it for my video today. I hope it was helpful for somebody out there. I hope that maybe it calms some nerves or some feelings of insecurity or uncertainty. And I wish you the best of luck if you are newly diagnosed with CVID or really any other illness that you might be struggling with. Bye!